Sir, if you pay the money, you wouldn't be getting evicted.
No, but they're arguing the dog and whatnot. They were saying either, get rid of the dog or get rid of yourself.
We're slow.
No,
I'm gonna let my clerk know what you said.
The claim is $47.90 and rent $269 and cost for a total of $50.59. $50.59.
Give me that whole figure again. I'm sorry.
4790 269 5059.
5059. Got it. And what do you have to say to that, sir?
I'm not sure. I believe 2,700 or so is due to the illegal pet fees. I believe
Illegal pet fees.
right. What do
you mean illegal pet fees?
The dog there. That is I guess protected under the ESA licensing. And so I guess they're fighting back on that.
They didn't disclose there was a dog. When he says illegal, unauthorized would probably be better.
I'm pretty sure
Okay.
Anyway,
I remember.
So,
essentially the impression that we were under upon getting the licensing for the dog is that it should basically be treated more as a prescription than a pet. Those are not my words necessarily. And there's nothing necessarily under the Fair Housing Act that is implying that I'm doing.
that what?
There's nothing specifically listed in the Fair Housing Act that is implicating that there's anything necessarily being breached.
By what?
As far as the lease agreement.
What I hear you're saying, and I don't know if you're trying to say that to me, they can charge the fee.
I don't.
Is that what you're saying?
Barnes and Barnes can charge the fee. Is that what you're saying? Or? I'm saying that technically it's not even a pet at this point, and so there's no real. Sorry, I didn't mean that.
No, it's okay.
That's essentially the sentiment that was expressed when we had gotten the
Sentiment by whom?
The doctor. We have, there was a doctor that we went to. It's under, the dog is registered to Aaliyah through the emotional support animal.
Okay.
Right.
There's no such license, Your Honor, and
I know, but
at least specifically says they won't have a pet there, and they said they didn't have a pet there, and they did.
But I think
It's
his
not a
argument
service.
is it's not a pet, it's a emotional support animal.
Basically, the sentiment that was expressed was that,
Well, there's a sentiment and then there's other things.
right.
The issue here is that, to the extent that it's real, when did the dog receive this certification?
When it was basically a few months after it was born. We had gotten it when it was a puppy, so in 2019 is the year. I can't, it would probably be sometime in the...
Okay, so, sir, let's just assume. I don't, but just hypothetically, let's assume that there's $2,700.
That needs to be paid.
Well, there's $2,700 in these disputed pet fees.
Okay.
There's $5,000 that's over. Do you have the other amount?
We have rent for January and February and March. That's owing now. And we didn't make,
Where is that money?
we have that money. But it was just with.
How come you haven't paid that?
Just with everything else with the, because they were trying to evict us over the dog, you didn't want to, it was already that, I just figured we would settle this before any, other payments were made. Does that make any sense? I don't know, it made sense to me.
Well, okay.
I didn't, we're getting evicted anyway. No, not trying to.
Sir, if you pay the money, you wouldn't be getting evicted.
No, but they're arguing the dog and whatnot. They were saying either, get rid of the dog or get rid of yourselves. So I just wanted to come to court.
Well, so what do you want to do?
I mean, I came to argue that, we have the ESA paperwork. They were willing to, honor that paperwork if we were willing to, renew it, because we only got the one license when the dog was born, basically. And, I talked to Jessica Barnes. She had essentially agreed that, they would be able to honor if we could update it. But
Where's the other money?
the 2 months rent?
Yeah.
I said, we have it. I just wanted to come to court first if they're charging all this other money. I just wanted to come to court first to settle it, to see what was actually, does that make, I'm sorry, does that not make sense?
Okay.
If we were to pay, February.
So you don't think of any of this 2,700, this dog fees you owe?
No, because that completely nullifies everything that, we got the licensing for.
When did you get the latest ESA approval?
We only got one about a month after the dog was,
Well, how old's the dog?
he's turning 5 this year.
5 years ago?
Yeah, 2019. It's still the same dog.
Well, I presume, I don't
I
know.
tried to do at least my, utmost diligence in trying to, research things, and it's set under the Fair Housing Act. It doesn't require the licensing to be updated. There's nothing where it says that.
Okay, all right, here's what we're gonna do.
I'm just trying
Is there 20, what?
I'm just trying to go off. I'm just trying to tell you what I've been going off.
Okay, I understand that. Give me 5059 minus 2,700.
So that's
2,359 is what's owing,
right.
absent the 2,700 in dog fees, right?
Yes.
So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna find no tribal issue. I'm gonna grant a partial judgment to the plaintiff in the amount of 2,359. That's inclusive of the costs that are in it, because you'd be entitled to the cost. I will set for trial 2,700 in dog fees. You're going to need to bring witnesses, certifications, everything else to say that this is a certification that might waive those fees. And I'll set that for trial on the 2,700 in dog fees. When's my next trial date?
March 27th at 9 a.m.
I can't do that 27.
Well, no, I got it. Give me a Tuesday. Is that a Tuesday? Give me a Tuesday. Is the 18th,
The
19th?
19th.
19th. Can you do 19th?
I'll be in the custody of Delta on the 19th. Literally.
Got it.
Then next one.
No, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna set it next week, the 15th. May I work? 15th at, what time is Mr. Friedman?
2 p.m.
2 p.m. Then I'm gonna set a trial on this at 3 p.m. on the 15th. Got that, sir? So you need to bring all your paperwork, everything else. the other defendant needs to be present since the dog is under that, and then I'm going to make a ruling on the 27th. There's going to be a partial judgment for the 2359 that I'm granting already to them. That needs to be paid within 10 days of today's date. You understand that?
That's right.
All right, thank you.
I think I guess we've got the judgment, so I don't, never mind. I almost kind of like to have escrow to,
Pardon?
I kind of feel like I should get escrow if he claims he has it in order for him to have a trial.
Well, I would only be able to get, he'd have 7 days to pay it.
Yeah.
And I'm only going to get a partial amount of March. So that's why I did it that way.
That's fine.
Got it. So first thing, let me just tell you folks, your motion is not timely. That's going to be the first thing. And you're looking to stay the writ, but, you know, you're not even, you don't have the full amount that's due.
So when they filed, I guess, the motion for us missing the court date in January, we paid whatever was due before the court date and was told that we didn't have to show up. So we knew none of this was even going on until we got the notice on our door in February saying that we were getting evicted.
Yeah.
Your Honor,
What do you mean?
so I think the issue is on January 5th, they paid $822, which I believe covered the demand amount, but that didn't
Got it.
include the January rent. Because even after that payment, there was a balance due of $1,588.29.
1,588.
Yes, 1588.29, and I think that payment came in simultaneous with the court date because we were here on the 5th. So the judgment was for the balance without that payment being taken into account.
Got it. Okay, folks.
And Your Honor, my client did confirm receiving $1,600 yesterday.
So they got 1,600 yesterday. And then, was it 16 even or 1610? Do you know?
16 even.
16 even? Okay. All right, real good. So, we just asked this of you because this is really what the issue is that you're going to be about 1,800 short.
And that's with the 1 month from the escrow.
Right. You owe $5,000, I think $5,036.79. So $540, $5,040, let's say. And you thus far paid 16 to the landlord. You got 1610 in escrow. It's going to be about 3,200. Roughly speaking, you're about 18 then short.
We could pay, so that's for March, right?
Well, look at it this way. It doesn't matter what that's for. There's a writ outstanding. You filed a motion and you owe this money.
So my question is, when we paid what was remaining January 5th, we are understanding that January was late, but at that point it was 800 something due, and we were told we didn't have to show up to court. How come it wasn't another date filed for late rent? It just went from that January motion to a notice of eviction.
Okay, because I can understand the confusion that occurs, okay? Because what you paid was the demand amount.
Mm-hmm.
Which only went through December. It didn't include your January rent.
Okay.
So when somebody tells you, if you say, I paid everything, do I have to show up? I don't know what the conversation was. If you paid everything, you wouldn't have to show up. But everything wasn't paid. If you
So I guess my
follow
confusion
me.
is because technically late is not rent. Rent is not late until 11:59. So yeah, we didn't pay it, but we really had the whole day to pay it.
The
So
whole day of what?
of January the 5th.
Well, it's not late January 5th.
Right.
The rent's due on the 1st.
Exactly. I understand that. But what I'm saying is we have up until the 5th before it's late, correct?
No, it's late on the 2nd. It's not, there's no late fee until, I think your rent is due on the 1st. It's considered late on the 2nd. You get a grace period before a late fee is charged.
As far as the remaining balance, we can pay that this month. Have a little more time.
Well,
18.
okay, because there's a writ that's out there right now. It got stayed temporarily because this amount's it. And what I'm saying is, you guys need to tell me exactly, and plaintiff may object to this, but I'd like to see you try to maintain your housing. But I gotta have a way that you're gonna get this 18 in. And the only reason I'm talking to you about it is because you guys have paid about $3,210, well, exactly $3,210 of that 5.
And Your Honor, if they can give a date on when they think they can pay it, I'm happy to talk to my client and see if they're willing to
Okay.
work with them. I don't have any authority without checking with them.
Right. So that's what I'm trying to work out. I understand, ma'am. It's not that I'm not hearing what you're telling me, okay? And we could sit up there and have the fight about that, but then once we're done with that fight, I still got $1,800 I gotta find, okay? All right, so I just didn't want you to think I was disrespecting what you were saying to me.
okay.
I got. So, how do you guys see getting the 18 in?
And what's today's date?
Today is the 8th. What was he looking down at? You had to tell him where the calendar was. He wasn't, you don't know, right? Okay, never mind. How you make it from day to day without her? Go ahead, what?
I believe that we can get that paid before the 22nd.
You think you can get the 22nd? You think you can get it paid? All right, folks?
Before the 22nd, so I would say like around.
Just say the 22nd.
I'll say the 22nd. Just to have a solid date.
No, if we could pass on the matter, I'm happy to check with my client, see if they're willing to give them till that date to come up with the remaining balance.
Yeah, and my position on it would be, so that your client knows, they have paid so much, they've gotten a good majority of this in, and they really would be looking for an adjournment till the 22nd, just to get that last payment in.
Right.
Understood, Judge. Yep, let me check with
All
them.
right, so I'm gonna pass it, you guys have a seat, okay? Okay. Mr. Dornbush,
Yes, Your Honor, I spoke with my client and they are willing to give defendants until the 22nd to get the remaining balance paid. So I think maybe it makes sense to adjourn the hearing to the 22nd, see where things stand at that point. But I would request that the court release the 1610 currently being held in escrow, since it does take a little time for that process to go through and for funds to make it to the
so
landlord.
that was Dornbush's way of saying we're slow.
No,
I'm gonna let my clerk know what you said.
I would never besmirch the reputation of your clerks, Your Honor. I would not dare do such a thing.
I had already written that down before you said anything to release the escrow. You don't have any problem releasing the escrow, do you? Okay, so the escrow, I'm gonna release that to the plaintiff. And then I'm gonna adjourn this to the 22nd. March 22nd, 2024 at 9 a.m. Now, are you going to be able to get that other amount to the landlord
Yes.
before that 9 a.m.? So when I call the case, I just want to make sure we can verify that it's been paid.
Yes.
Okay, so I don't believe you. Are you going to be able to get it there?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I believe that. I don't know. I don't know why he lives a little shit. That's That's what she was thinking. She was looking at him cross-eyed too. Anyway, all right, folks.
This courtroom dispute centered on unpaid rent and contested petrolated charges tied to an emotional support animal. The landlord sought more than $5,000, including approximately $2,700 in dog fees, while the tenant argued those charges were invalid because the dog qualified as an emotional support animal under housing protections. During the hearing, the judge focused on a key issue. Even if the disputed pet fees were set aside, a significant amount of unpaid rent still remained. The tenant acknowledged withholding rent while challenging the landlord's actions, but the court emphasized that rent obligations continue despite ongoing disputes. After reviewing the arguments, the judge issued a partial judgment for the undisputed rent and costs, ordering payment within 10 days. However, rather than immediately ruling on the emotional support animal fees, the judge scheduled a separate trial so both sides could present documentation, certifications, and evidence. The case highlights a critical legal principle. Disputes over ESA, accommodations, and pet fees do not automatically eliminate a tenant's responsibility to pay rent. The final outcome on the contested charges would depend on the evidence presented at the upcoming trial.